yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody knew what we were in for when Tiger came out.
You know, you were always known as one of the most consistent players.
I haven't seen a flaw in his game.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Florida Golf Experience. I'm Christian Martin, local PGA professional, here with Dan Henson, local realtor, and we're out to have a couple of really good shows for you here.
Yep, we are here at the Florida Golf Experience. We are excited to get some new guests in. Today, we're going to be Mr. Scott Hoch. Got some great stories, chatted him on the phone a little bit before we got started here. We are super excited. You know, with 23 professional wins. He played all over, too, by the way. 11 PGA Tour wins. Made the U.S. Open cut 18 times.
18
played in 24
times.
and made the cut 18 times.
That's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. So the Byron Nelson Award. And what was the other award he had? Vardon Award. So it has something to do with keeping that score real low on a consistent basis for the whole year. 1986. He won both. Yeah. So, hey, without further ado, Scott Hoch. My name's Dan Henson. I think we talked a little bit before. And I have Christian Martin. He's a 30-year PGA professional here in the area. And he's my kind of go-to for all the golf information I need and keep me straight. So...
well, Scott, we got open week coming up at Oakmont. You know, what do you think about week? That? You play?
That's this week?
Yep. You didn't know. Classic.
Tell us a little bit about what you think of Oakmont and how challenging it's going to be for the boys this week.
Gosh, it's always been challenging. I'm not sure how many times I played in it. I mean, how many times I played majors there. But
you've qualified 18 times.
Well, I'm talking about playing there.
Made the cut and 24 times you're in.
At Oakmont. Oh. But I know that what I remember is very difficult. And I remember one time in particular when I had the PGA, when I was playing the PGA there, that I think I was trying for a spot on the Ryder Cup team. And that's a hard course to have to either hold my ground or finish top 10. But anyway, I did and made the Ryder Cup team because it used to end on that week. Or either that guaranteed it. But, yeah, I mean, just ask Phil Mickelson how hard Oakmont is, and he'll tell you too. So it's just, the rough, the trees, the greens, they're all, U.S. Open is always difficult, but that makes it extra difficult there.
Yeah, they're not going to make it easy for the boys, are they?
Yeah, don't think so. Depending on the weather, they can make it as difficult as they want.
Well, if it rains, it softens up the greens, but it thickens up the rough. So it's kind of, one or the other. So
I'm sure the players would like it to still be soft. They can play from the fairway. That's easy to hit the fairway, but when the greens are that hard and that fast, it's tough to compensate for that.
Well, who you there's a lot of stuff in the news about Rory and Scotty. Where do you see these two, and who's going to come prevail on this thing?
Well, those are the only two I can really see right now. I mean, Scotty, you have to consider him the favorite every time he tees it up these days, and Rory, he's been playing so well except for last week. But, that might be good. He might have been a little fried and gave him a couple of days to relax and get his mind together. And I'm sure he probably went up there early, gets him a little more practice time on the course. So I figure those two guys might be the favorites for me.
Yeah.
Well, clearly, if you want to have a son that plays golf, if you name him Scott or Scotty, he's probably got a good chance of making it. What do you think?
Well, for sure. But Dave, what's different about me? I never did like Scotty when everybody called me I was younger. So I'm glad he likes it because that's what it is, and he's become phenomenal. He's our he's closest one to what numbers Tiger was putting up.
Right. Hopefully he can sustain it for a little while and we can keep this conversation going.
Yeah,
pretty
that's
amazing.
Good. That's good. I mean, just like I watched the tennis and I saw about the best tennis match I've ever seen yesterday or this weekend with the top two guys. So, hey, you got Rory and you got him. Who knows? It might be a duel again.
Well, it's funny. We were talking to Olin Brown, and one of the things he brought up was the tennis match again. So, that's both of you bringing up the tennis match. It was a heck of a match. Heck of a match.
It was. Yeah, I went to church and went out to eat and came back, and it was still going, and I was glued to it for the last couple hours.
Did you get a chance to watch the little bit of the RBC in that playoff yesterday?
I did see the playoff. And it was an awful good shot by Fox to end up winning. That unbelievable. I think he hit 3-wood on last hole to make it tough on Burns. But that's the way it is. It looked like with the putter that he is, or I heard he was the best putter on tour, and for him to have a 5-footer to win it, you would have thought that it would have gone in, especially after Fox had just putted along that same line. But hey, that shows you how golf is. They don't all go the same.
Any kind of prediction this week on what the final score might be? A couple under, a couple over?
No, I don't. I just remember, I think the first couple times I played there, I just remember everybody talking about, I guess it's Hale Irwin playing and winning with an over par score. And that always, I think that scared me when I first played it. But yeah, it all depends on the weather. And the guys are, so much better now. They hit it so far, and the rough doesn't bother them nearly as much because they get it far enough up where they can hit the green a lot of times. So it all depends on the weather. It's hard to judge it, and I haven't even looked to see what the weather's going to be up there this week.
You playing much golf these days?
Zero. I hit been retired for 3 years. I've hit 2 wedge shots. Now my left hand won't take it anymore. It's it's worn out.
I'm catching up to you on that regard, I promise.
Well, you play back in the days there with Watson and Crenshaw and all them. Are you seeing any similarities in what Scotty's trying to do here? And we keep going back to that, but it seems to be a lot of Scotty news. Any of the same similarities happening? With the things that stood out with those gentlemen that he's doing now.
Scotty's doing much better. He does everything well. All the guys you talked about, Watson. No, Watson wasn't nearly as consistent as Scotty is. And I mean, I haven't seen a flaw in his game, and that's tough. And really, but the only one I can say that about would be Tiger. I know Jack's, the best or one of or the top 2 that's ever played, but I didn't ever think Jack could chip too well because he never had to chip. He never practiced it much. he played so well. But then with Scotty, he's got short game, putting, driving. At least I guess in the PGA, he finally figured out after hitting 5 shots to the left that aim a little farther right, and then he came back and played great at the back nine. So, he's got it right now. I mean, as far as Tiger had some weaknesses when he played, but he was just so dominant in the other phases. But I don't see any weaknesses in Scotty's, especially as mine. I mean, obviously to do what he does, what he did at the PGA, was it the PGA or whatever it was? Anyway, when he came back from losing the lead and coming back so strongly that he did, it's pretty strong mind there.
Well, tell me a little bit about, you were always known as one of the most consistent players on the tour, making cuts after cuts after cuts. What do you attribute that to? Hard work or just what?
Well, I was a field player. I had some lessons and they helped me out, but I was mostly a field player. So whatever I was doing poorly, I could figure it out. And when I did, I went to my teacher to do it. But most of the time I was able to figure it out, and I was just consistent. I would say I was a strong player, a really good player, but I wasn't a great player, and that's what they have today. and it's just a matter of I was consistent, but never was quite good enough to get over that hump and be considered one of the best during my days.
Well, you were certainly one of the most consistent. It was fun. I mean, I grew up watching you play, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, one thing about it was I did not practice much, and especially later on because I had problems with my hand, so I could never practice that much. But I just felt that practicing, having a good practice, was better than hitting a lot of balls and just hitting them. So I mean, very seldom did I hit much more than bucket and a half, 2 buckets ever in a day. And it's just what I need to work on is a matter of feel, and I think the mechanical players tend to have to hit a bunch of balls to be able to get the mechanics straight all the time. Whereas for me, if I was a little off, I just change a little something and try to figure it out and play. But then again, that might be why the mechanical players play so much better, because when they get in a groove, it's really a groove and they can depend on it.
It's pretty impressive. I was kind of looking through some things, and I was kind of trying to get some opinions. A lot of stuff going on with PGA and Live right now. 2 things is, one's pace of play, and then I was just just curious about your ideas on Live.
I can tell you, my wife doesn't care for it much. She's sitting here, but
I like her.
I probably, if I was playing, I probably would not be I wouldn't be in favor of it. I would like to see them really come together and do it. But I watched some of the play. They incorporate some pretty good stuff, more interesting stuff maybe for the fans. But I still like. Still a fan of the PGA Tour, but like I said, I would like to get both of them back together again. I think that's what they're working on. And so anyway, since I'm not involved with it and never had to, I didn't have to really make that much of a decision. But I would have probably I'm pretty sure I'd have been stay with the tour.
Yeah. Yeah. How about that pace of play thing going on with it? You think that's a big deal?
You just informed me. It's the first I've heard of it. What are we talking about?
Pace of play on PGA? Because it seems like there's a lot of complaints about guys getting backed up.
Yes, I'm not familiar with it. So, I mean, I know at times we had issues on the tour with pace of play. And, back when I was playing, it seemed to be a lot of the Europeans would take a little more time than we usually did. But then everybody went by the same rules. And when I last 10, 15 years I was on tour, I really didn't notice it that much. So I'm not familiar any of what's going on there. I don't watch golf enough to know. I usually just watch the bigger tournaments, and I just happen to watch the tennis, and then it went into the golf, and then it went into the basketball. So man, I had a great day yesterday watching.
Yeah. Hockey's still finishing up.
Yeah, well, I haven't gotten into hockey so much, but but the other I have. But so tell me, what are they saying about it? I can give you an opinion about. I mean, is it just they need to change new rules, make it quicker, or what? I don't know. Or they're not enforcing them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're offering. They're letting I guess they're starting to use the rangefinders now. They think that's going to make a difference. But I think that you guys have always policed yourself. And I think that you got some guys on tour complaining a little bit. Christian, what do you think?
Well, definitely definitely pace of play is an issue, but they have to do something about it. And if they're not going to issue the penalty, then nobody's going to do anything about it.
Right.
You can't find these.
It's like the law, man. You got to follow the law or you get arrested. And it's just the same thing. I mean,
exactly.
You have to do it all the time equally for it to work. And there was a time when I played quite a while ago that they were big on the speed because it did get too slow. And then they did start finding people. And all you need to do is a few people, and then they get the message, and then everybody starts speeding up. Unfortunately, where it really would get if they get somebody that actually meant a tournament or something, because they were slow.
Who was the when you were playing back in the day? Who would you consider the biggest competitor or the toughest guy out there as far as just mentally or grinding? Was it Jack, or was there somebody else that stood out?
Well, I guess I covered a lot of them. I played with Jack when I first came on tour, one of the first tournaments. I didn't know him. I mean, I didn't play with him enough to know, especially when he was in his prime. But I'm sure he was. But the strongest willed guy I've played with was Tiger. He was. You weren't going to beat him mentally. So
right.
I mean, he was. I'm not sure anybody was as confident or sure about his game or sure he was going to win than him.
Well, yeah, the Curtis Strange interview. Well, you'll learn. I think Curtis is the one that would like to take that comment back, but it was a good interview nonetheless. So
I'm sorry, what was that? I don't know about it.
Well, when Tiger first came out and he said, "Well, I'm here to win," and Curtis said, "You'll learn."
Okay. Well, I went to school with Curtis. Curtis can be kind of blunt, but usually accurate. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody knew what we were in for when Tiger came out. That was just kind of a once in a lifetime or once in a 2 or 3 generation type of player, where
right.
He just took hold of the reins and then that was it.
Yeah, I mean, you have one Wayne Gretzky, you have one Michael Jordan, you have Jack and Tiger. I mean, not coming around every day. And maybe Scotty turns into that someday, but it's too early to tell.
Yeah, it is. But hey, he's last 3 years he's done some phenomenal stuff. He might have gotten off to a slower start than some of the other guys, but he's sure been going strong last couple of years.
For sure.
Reaching back a little bit in your history there, who was the most underrated player when you were playing out there that didn't quite get the credit, but was always right there? Is there anybody that stood out like, man, this guy's good, nobody knows about it?
Well,
maybe like a Fox is today.
I actually thought Wayne Levy was really good, was a good player during his prime, and not really many people knew about it, and I mean, that's just what comes to mind now. I always thought that, and he went along, for about 2-3 years there. He went along, kept winning tournaments, and nobody was talking about him. And I'm not real sure who else I might have thought was underrated. I never really thought about that much. I know I always thought more about who was overrated, but you're not going to get.
I was saying you might want to not go there, but
you're not going to get any of those names from me though. So that's something you don't give out. But I never really thought that much about underrated.
Well, so was it harder to win the first time, or was your last victory the hardest one?
Well, my first victory was probably my 4th or 5th tournament, so it wouldn't be that one. I actually got hurt at the beginning of the year before my first tournament, and then didn't play for 5 or 6 months. And then when I did, they finally figured out what it was, and then I got it corrected. Then I think I won like my 4th tournament. I would definitely say it was my last tournament because, hey, I think I was 47. And at Miami, which was one of the very prestigious tournament at that time, and I ended up beating Jim Furyk in overtime. Had birdied the first 2 playoff holes to win that tournament. So being at 47, you figure you're not going to have too many more opportunities to win. I won on the Champions Tour, but when considering the regular tour, that was tough.
Well, I would look back at your career and Jim's career, and clearly your golf swings were a little bit different, but Jim was also a pretty consistent guy. He made a lot of cuts. He was always right there, same as you. week after week. We always knew you were going to be around for the weekend. It was kind of cool.
He was a notch better than I was. I would have liked to had what he did, but no, he's a great guy, and he was very consistent. You're right about that. He just and that's another one that I would not think he would consider himself a technical player. He's just a field player. I guess if you have a little different swing, then you're more field than technical. And he had a great feel for it, and he was a partner of mine in a Ryder Cup, so I got to see it close up. So anyway,
yeah,
great guy.
Good. Great guy.
Well, if you were out there playing golf nowadays, I mean, in Florida, what would be one of your favorite courses you'd love to play? I always try to get that out of everybody, and I like getting those helpful hints, but it's curious to see how many people like the courses here in Florida.
Gosh, when it comes to me, I've only played courses where I've had tournaments, and honestly, I can't think of any course that's in my top courses that are here in Florida.
Okay. What about in the U.S. then?
Well,
favorite golf course.
As far as tournaments, I always thought Jack's Memorial was my favorite tournament, and one of my favorite tournaments to play in as a family was up at Hilton Head, because we always had the best time up there. I mean, that's a course that I played well, but never well enough to win. But I enjoyed it up there, and our family had a great time.
That's a nice area, Hilton Head, for sure.
What else you got there, Christian? So,
believe it or not, one of my favorite courses of all is Muirfield over in Scotland. And so some people might think that's crazy because they think that I don't care for many of the tournaments, many of the courses over in Great Britain, but I really like that course when I played it. So those are like three that stand out to me.
Nice.
Excellent. So, what do you got going on nowadays? Are you, since you're not playing golf nowadays, what are you kind of up to?
I seem to be pretty good at doing nothing. I really don't have.
Didn't take on tennis or fishing or something, huh?
My wife probably says irritating her, but yeah, she thought it was good when I played the tour. When I came home and I spent too much time at home, I think she likes me to get on the road and start back playing, but I can't do that. But anyway, yeah, I just don't do much. I just enjoy just being around, and I'm fortunate that I have my kids and my grandkids not too far away, so we get a chance to see them quite a lot. But no, other than that, I really don't do much. Don't really have any hobbies.
We'll have to get you on more, and we'll create a hobby for you here. Maybe you could be our host with us.
I don't know about that. Yeah, I'll let you guys keep that.
Well, we really appreciate your time today.
Sure.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it, guys. Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll hopefully talk to you down the road here, and I do appreciate your time, and enjoy the rest of the year.
You got it. See you then.
Hey, so we had another great podcast. Scott Hoch was here. It was nice for him to join us from Orlando. His wife Sally helped us out, get everything set up. It was great talking with him. He had so much. I think you stressed to me so much about he was Mr. Consistency.
He really was. He was.
I mean, that's what you know him as, right?
Yeah, he was just going to be there week in and week out. I mean, the man was an ATM machine out there.
Yeah.
He teed it up. He got paid. And he talked about the differences of being a field player versus a mechanical player. He said he wasn't a guy that had to practice a lot, and he was a field player. If something wasn't working, he could just kind of hit a few balls and feel it and keep moving, where some of the guys that are more mechanical today, when their swing's on, it's on. When their swing's off, they got to go back to the drawing board again. So
yeah, I think that's the second time we heard that. I think Mr. Olin Brown, when we talked prior to that, said something about he was more of a field player. He's like, I'm not going to knock out 60 buckets of balls,
right,
this week. But, it was pretty interesting how, his approach. And, when we talked about Scotty a little bit, he definitely talked about his mental game, ability to outthink, you know, the next guy, you know, and just control his he's so calm. So,
well, I think, you know, one of the big differences, if, you know, and this is a question maybe we can ask some of the guys that we're interviewing next time, is you kind of had to be a field player back in the day. We didn't have the technology. We didn't have the computers.
That makes sense.
We didn't have the simulators. We didn't have all these numbers and all these statistics. So you just had to figure it out.
Yeah, I never thought about that way. I mean, that makes a point, and you know, we maybe, like you said, we'll bring it up a specific way because, you know, when you started playing golf yourself, you know, you weren't running to the simulator to figure out that 1 degree difference. You tell me when we were out, you say, "Here's a cone." You know, you play in that cone, and then you know you're outside. You know, so
I mean, you know, those guys were, and including me, there were no cell phones. I mean, you know, we had a bush on my golf course that I grew up, and that was a 150-yard marker, and that was the only notable yardage you had. You had to figure it out.
Yeah,
like it's all right in the palm of their hand now, and in some ways that's a good thing. In some ways, you know.
Well, you know, and it's funny because he had kind of got out of you know, pay attention to golf lately because he's like, you know, I kind of done my course with it. So, but you know, we brought up things like pace of play. He wasn't quite sure, but then we kind of got talking to it. And he goes, "Yeah, you know what? We kind of did have that problem going on. A little bit of pace of play was an issue, but I guess, you know, like I said, they police it out themselves back then."
Well, you know, I mean, clearly the tour is looking into it. It's one of the things that they're going to be battling probably forever on the PGA Tour. But pace of play is achievable. You know, I've been around a lot of members and member clubs and people that shoot 80, 90, or 100, and they can do it in 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
You know, so it's something they need to address. But of course, they're constantly working on improving the game, and they're delivering a product to the people. So takes time to deliver.
Sure. Well, I think, you know, we had another good podcast there. You know, we look forward to the next one, working with our producer to get the next best guest. So we hope you stick around. And until next time, we'll see you on the, what? Let me say, hit them straight. What was that?
Long and straight.
Long and straight. Okay.